That is suddenly a very common view on the left. It's certainly Barack Obama's position. More than any other contemporary American leader, Barack Obama is a racial arsonist. He emerges at our most vulnerable moments to deepen the wounds that divide us. He sows hate. Why does Barack Obama do this? Well, it would take a psychiatrist to answer that question fully, though it seems obvious that deep loathing of some kind plays a role. It must play a role. Today, Obama took a break from becoming one of the richest men in the world to issue a statement blaming racism and misogyny for today's killings. So a guy who appears to be white shoots a group of white people, and Barack Obama calls it racism. How exactly does that work? Can you speak slowly and tell us? Well, the former president didn't. He didn't indicate, but he didn't need to. Barack Obama had managed to divide Americans a little more than they were yesterday, and so from his perspective, mission accomplished.
It is yet another terrible day, dark and gloomy day in bad faith land over at Fox News. So welcome. Tucker Carlson attacked Representative Ilhan Omar and former President Barack Obama on his show yesterday over remarks that they made recently regarding the the very unfortunate shootings in Atlanta, Georgia, and Boulder, Colorado. For the record, I don't watch Fox News. I just watch these clips because I want to show the public how bad a lot of these arguments are, because no one else really is. But I'm here to react to their bad faith takes, most importantly, because first of all, it's easy. Second of all, like I said, someone has to do it, so why not me? Fox News is the place where good arguments go to die, unfortunately. So let's begin with clip number 1. And let's see why Tucker Carlson says that Representative Ilhan Omar is trying to make Americans hate each other even more than they currently do. Paraphrasing, watch this.
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar of Minneapolis specializes in shocking recklessness. It's what she does. After the mass killings in Atlanta last week, none of which seemed to have anything whatsoever to do with the race of anyone involved, Omar tried her best to make Americans hate each other even more. That's how she's repaying the country that rescued her from a refugee camp in Africa. Law enforcement, Omar said, with zero evidence of any kind, works to protect, quote, the humanity of white mass murderers. What does that even mean? We have no idea, though obviously it is bristling with racial hostility, so MSNBC just rolled with it.
So I'm not going to play the MSNBC clip that triggered Tucker Carlson because I don't want the video to get flagged by YouTube. But Tucker asks, what does that even mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean to say that police protect the humanity of white mass murderers? As if you don't know that, Tucker? It means taking Dylan Roof to a Burger King after shooting 9 people in a church, 9 black people in a church in South Carolina. It means apprehending white mass murderers who shoot up schools, who shoot up movie theaters, who shoot up anything that they can possibly find, okay, music events, okay, and not laying a scratch on them, okay, but crushing George Floyd's neck, okay, because of some vague fear for your life. It means avoiding a conversation about white domestic terrorism while at the same time putting dead black people on trial, which is what they're trying to do now with this Derek Chauvin trial in Minneapolis by saying that George Floyd's old record is admissible in court, okay, to argue that cops that kill should be let off the hook. That's what it means. Tucker knows this, but the right lives to blame black people for their problems instead of shining a light on systemic and systematic racism. Matter of fact, they don't even admit systemic and systematic racism even exists in the first place, because to actually acknowledge those things means that you're the real racist to them, because, you know, talking about racism means you're a racist. That's how they muddy the waters and pretend that racism isn't actually a thing. To them, this is how they do it, right? And I don't even, like I said, I don't watch Fox News like that, but I've seen enough of their videos to know how they build their arguments. The MSNBC clip, by the way, was just a clip of like Jonathan Capehart saying that we shouldn't silence discussions around white domestic terrorism, and we should basically call a thing a thing. He didn't even say much. It wasn't like me being on MSNBC and calling a thing, or me being on MSNBC calling out domestic terrorism by white right-wingers, because they definitely wouldn't like that. It was Jonathan Capehart. But like I said, even the slightest conversation, the slightest discussion triggers them to no end. Like their brains completely shut off when you talk about this stuff. What Ilhan Omar said is true, but oh, it gets worse. Watch this next clip.
Yeah, that's good for the country. White supremacy! That's the culprit, no matter what the color the criminal was. It doesn't matter the criminal's color because it's systemic racism. And like carbon monoxide, it's an invisible poison. That is suddenly a very common view on the left. It's certainly Barack Obama's position. More than any other contemporary American leader, Barack Obama is a racial arsonist. He emerges at our most vulnerable moments to deepen the wounds that divide us. He sows hate. Why does Barack Obama do this? Well, it would take a psychiatrist to answer that question fully, though it seems obvious that deep loathing of some kind plays a role. It must play a role. Today, Obama took a break from becoming one of the richest men in the world to issue a statement blaming racism and misogyny for today's killings. So a guy who appears to be white shoots a group of white people, and Barack Obama calls it racism. How exactly does that work? Can you speak slowly and tell us? Well, the former president didn't. He didn't indicate, but he didn't need to. Barack Obama had managed to divide Americans a little more than they were yesterday, and so from his perspective, mission accomplished.
Man, oh man, oh man. This fool called Barack Obama, a racial arsonist who is dividing Americans more than they currently are. No, Donald Trump divided Americans. Donald Trump divided Americans more than Americans have ever been divided, probably since the Civil Rights Movement, and before that, since the Civil War, right? Really? Really, Tucker? A racial arsonist. Not only is that insanely hyperbolic, it follows a trend of the far right, right? And how their heads explode whenever Barack Obama dares use his platform to say anything at all about racism. They lost their minds when Barack Obama said if he had a son, he would look like Trayvon. They lost it over that. And some of you probably remember that. You notice he didn't put Barack Obama's actual quote up, right? On the TV screen when I showed that clip. He didn't actually put up a Barack Obama's quote. You know why? Because I found Barack Obama's statement online, and it's very basic because it's Barack Obama. So you know it's basic. Okay, we already know Barack Obama doesn't take political risks. Okay, even while he's been out of office, he's been very selective and very hesitant to speak out on a whole host of issues. Typically, Barack Obama only comes out when he's going to bat for the establishment, like he did in the 2020 primary to stifle Bernie Sanders, and like he did when LeBron James and some other NBA players threatened to sit out. Barack Obama spoke up then, right, to get them to not do that anymore. But he doesn't take serious risks on race like that. Barack Obama mostly called for stricter gun laws, and yes, he mentioned racism and misogyny in one of the quotes that he made in his statement. But this is literally what Barack Obama said. He said, quote, "It will take time to root out the disaffection, racism, and misogyny that fuels so many of these senseless acts." That's it. That's all he said. That's the big act of racial arsonism that Obama engaged in, according to Tucker Carlson. What a crock of you-know-what. Okay, Tucker said Obama has a deep loathing of some kind that he insinuated only a psychologist can get to the root of. He literally questioned the former president's mental health because he mentioned racism. Think about that for a second. Think about that. That is how disingenuous and just full of crap these people are. Something tells me Tucker Carlson needs to take a long, hard look in the mirror, a desperate look in the mirror, quite frankly. This is the reaction from conservatives after 10 people were murdered. Okay, they do not care about you. They do not care about me. To be honest with you, they will watch people be murdered and double down on their zealotry in a sheer act of inhumanity. Okay, but it gets worse. Tucker brought on a man by the name of Zaid Jilani, who has grifted in the past regarding issues of race and just issues of identity in general, right? I don't know if he's a left winger or not. To be honest with you, I don't follow the man on Twitter or on any platform, so I don't really know his true political stance on a lot of issues, but a lot of his tweets come across my all I know is that he writes for The Intercept. Okay, so check out this clip and let's see what Zaid
Jilani is an independent journalist who's been watching all of this carefully, and he joins us now. Zaid Jilani, thanks so much for coming on. I'm struck once again for the second time in 2 weeks by the instant impulse among people in the media and the Democratic Party to racialize a crime that has no obvious racial component and to divide the country on the basis of that lie. What do you think is going on here?
Look, Tucker, unfortunately, so much of our politics today resembles what you might see in a country like Lebanon during its civil war, what you may see in India or Israel today, where you have leaders at the top deploying sort of sectarian rhetoric, pitting race versus race, talking about people only through their ethnic groups or tribes or sects or castes, and implying that all our problems flow from that, right? We know that the shooting last week was not motivated by racial hatred. We know that the shooting this week didn't appear to have any kind of racial motivation either. And yet there were people who were ready, almost willing these events into place to foment a certain kind of political agenda. Does it mean anything that that it was a white guy who did the shooting in Atlanta? Does it mean anything that it was an Arab American who did the shooting in Colorado? I don't think it means anything. It's just a commentary on the character and the derangement of those particular individuals, right? We can't confuse the acts of individuals with acts of entire groups. But I think increasingly media figures and politicians are doing that because they know that there's a deep part of human psychology that wants to divide the world into us versus them. And these politicians, these media figures can tell people that we'll protect us and we'll help you fight them, right? And if they're dividing people across racial lines, that'll foment racial polarization, it'll gin up viewers and clicks for the media, and it'll gin up votes for politicians. But I think as Americans, we have to reject that kind of mentality because at the end of the day, nobody really wins when people are thinking that all white people are criminals or people are thinking that all Arabs or all immigrants are criminals, because the reality is almost nobody is a criminal. The criminals are the criminals, right? 99% of people would never do anything like this.
Well, exactly.
And yet our politicians continue to hit this button because they know it's a good button to press. It hits a lot of those core human psychological features that I think makes us instinctually think that we should blame some kind of massive group for the errors or the sins of a few people.
According to Zaid Jilani, you are engaging in sectarianism and pitting race versus race. Obvious trends in these mass shootings. Do you know who says white right-wingers are the biggest domestic terrorism threat in America? Not left-wing sectarians. Okay, it's the FBI. Okay, I also find it interesting that there was no racism involved in his decision to target Asians. I find that very interesting. He says we know it wasn't about race. Who is we? You. You think that. That is not a fact. Okay? Though, quite frankly, if they wouldn't have him on Fox if he wasn't fitting a certain narrative that he and they right. Somebody just walked by. They're cutting my grass. Yeah, this is just plain. But honestly, this is why I side eye a lot of people on the left, even who go against identity politics. There have been enough grifters who I've seen, and some of you have probably seen these actors as well, left, but because of, I don't know if it's because of money, if the amount of followers they have, if they start trying to pander to a new audience, but they make this shift from the left to this left. I don't want to say, well, some of them like Dave Rubin do go full blown right wing, but so a lot of them don't. Weird sort of space that's not exactly right wing, but it's not really left wing anymore either. And I've seen that on side-eyeing some of these people because there are snakes in these spaces, right? And that, yes, identity is weaponized. That is a thing. It is mostly weaponized by people in power to get people in to go along with establishment ideas. That's when you really see it's weaponized by people in power, and that too is done in a disingenuous way. But when you are using that as some sort of carte blanche mechanism to disavow any conversation whatsoever about racism and sexism, homophobia, etc., that's just disingenuous, because we know racism is a thing. Sexism is a thing. To pretend otherwise is not living in reality. You have blinders on. Your eyes are glued shut when you engage that way, when you say things that we all know are obvious lies. Okay? Like I said, I don't know how left Zaid Jilani is, but I do know that there are people on the left who follow him and regurgitate a lot of his talking points, or not necessarily his talking points, but they regurgitate a lot of the same arguments. Were there people calling the shooter a white supremacist before they really knew the identity of the shooter? Yes, there were. Is that, well, actually, before I say that, that's why when I made my breaking news video, I refrained from using certain words and certain language because I didn't want to be presumptive, right? And I'm glad I didn't go that far with it. But is that take completely unfounded if you did do that? No, it's not. Why? Because it's the trend. We know it's the trend. We see with our own eyes who most of these shooters are. And actually, as a matter of fact, I think some of these shooters are actually more right-wing than we even realize. But I think a lot of stuff is being hidden from the public. That's my little personal theory, which is why before you guys noticed before they revealed the identities of these shooters, they scrubbed their social media because they don't want you to see who these people are actually following, because you'd actually realize that some of these people are following Candace Owens, some of these people are following Tucker Carlson, some of these people are following the same individuals telling you not to believe your lying eyes. Okay, so despite what these bad faith actors are saying, these bad faith actors who get paid millions of dollars, some of them, to lie to you in your faces, okay, we know what's up. So I've had enough of this for one day. I can only take but so much BS. So my name is Brian Lewis. Please like this video, share the video, and subscribe, and be on the lookout for my next video. Thank you.